prevent you from speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. Keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. Speaking moistly.
Welcome, everybody, to Speaking Moistly. It is Greg Wycliffe and, of course, the one and only Mark Peralvis. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm wonderful, Greg. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm caffeinated. Another day in crazy Canada, right?
It's pretty wild these days.
Yeah. We're going to be talking, of course, about the Catholic student who was thrown in a cop car. We're going to be talking about Justin Trudeau meeting with premiers today about healthcare, strings attached healthcare. I don't know. We'll talk about that, and then also Chat GPT acting very woke. This AI robot that's very popular, acting super like kind of like a Marxist a little bit.
Creepy.
Yeah.
It is very, very concerning what's going on with the Chat GPT. But more concerning is if you were in high school, do you think that questioning or even stating there are two genders, male and female, would be problematic enough to get you suspended and then basically expelled? They're not expelling this kid. He's excluded. But when I was young, that was just biology. We did that in science. It was taught. We covered that one. Now it is indoctrination. They're saying unlearn that. There's not two genders or anything like that. You bigot, get out. And this is a Catholic school.
This is a Catholic school. We'll bring the story up right here. And to answer your question, Mark, it's actually very scary. As funny as it is, like, haha, it's silly. Like, this is actually really scary that not only is this going to happen, is there going to be a big public outcry about this? Because there should be, especially at a public school. But we'll hop into this. Right. Yeah, we'll hop into the story here. This is from Western Standard. Catholic student opposed to biological males in women's washrooms. Imagine. Arrested for attending school. Josh Alexander has been arrested for attending St. Joseph's Catholic School in Renfrew. You can see here, Alexander was suspended for 20 days in late 2022 because he expressed his Christian beliefs during class debates and on social media that there are only two genders, that students cannot switch between genders, and that male students should not be permitted into the girls' bathroom. Wow. So that's all it takes to get suspended now.
I think the best part of that is the fact that his position is you can't just switch genders. And that's included in there as if it's an outrageous thing to say, you can't possibly believe this. Get out of our school. It seems crazy.
It's, I think the cherry on top is the fact that it's a Catholic school. And if you look in the Bible, there's a lot of things that he made male and female, he made man and woman, one and the other. And I think the most alarming thing about this is it kind of confirms this sort of idea we've talked about for a long time now, which is that there is no debate anymore. Like the fact that it's not like, hey, this is a debate class. This is your belief. Well, let's air that out. Let's talk. No. Leave the school. We're not going to talk about that. Don't ask any questions. Don't have any debate or challenging opposing ideas. Like, this is not only, the premise of a debate class or the premise of intellectual thought or scientific thought, quite frankly, challenging one another, but it's also kind of the premise of democracy, like a democratic country where you're supposed to be able to have opposing views. So
that was why he got suspended in the first place. The suspension in 2022 that you mentioned, that's why he got suspended for arguing that there are two genders in class and that males shouldn't be able to use the women's washroom because their belief doesn't trump biology. And then he was suspended.
And a lot of people are going to ask, like, oh, it's the leftists, it's Trudeau, it's Jagmeet, it's the LGBTQ plus, and there's a lot of fingers to potentially point. I think one of them should, at this point, this was brought up by a ferryman, actually, when I was chatting with him online recently. And he was like, we need to be just shaming Canadians at this point. Like, if people actually aren't going to get up and get upset about this, it's like, your apathy, your laziness is kind of part of the problem. But just to bring up this story once again, if we keep reading, The timing of this is Liberty Coalition Canada is assisting Alexander, the student. In a press release, LCC said the timing of this suspension also suggests retaliation for Josh organizing a student walkout regarding the refusal of St. Joseph's principal, Derek Lennox, to address the concerns of a female student regarding male students accessing the girls' washrooms. So essentially, to kind of simplify that, they're planning a walkout because the principal is refusing to address the concerns of a female student regarding male students accessing the girls' washrooms, which I think is a pretty kind of valiant, chivalrous thing to stand up for a female student who is concerned about something. And again, if we're going to point a finger in this immediate situation, I think it's the St. Joseph's principal, Derek Lennox, for refusing to address this issue, this concern of a female student in a Catholic high school.
Well, and so the expression of religious beliefs, such as there are two genders and you can't switch genders, is a protected constitutional thing. So as you said, there are lawyers involved, protected constitutional belief and speech that you're allowed to have, protected under the charter in Canada.
Yep.
And so the fact that the principal is refusing this child an education, because even if he did come back to the building, he would be forced to miss his afternoon classes because there are transgender students in those classes and they're uncomfortable if he's there. And so he's excluded. Does that make, like, just as a one, and I mean, I don't like getting lost in the minutia of these things sometimes because it can take you away from the main point, but just as like drilling down, it doesn't make any sense. It's insane. It's crazy. You are being excluded from class because other students don't like what you believe. So you either lie to all of us or you don't go to that class. That's insanity. It's insanity.
And just the final point here on the story, Alexander was told by the principal he could only return to school if he agreed to not use the dead name of any transgender student and agreed to exclude himself from his 2 afternoon classes because those classes are attended by true transgender students who disapprove of Josh's religious beliefs. It's a Catholic school. I'm sorry. Did I miss something?
The communist takeover that has been extremely successful in the last couple of years. They're really going gangbusters, those communists.
But you know, who has the trump card here? Whose belief system is more important? You know,
so what the school did, hold on, just like to put it into perspective. So this student basically said, biology exists and that's my religious belief. And the school said, you're excluded, and then said you're trespassing and called the police on this student and had him removed. So the next step is the student has legal representation. The legal representation will bring this to a court. But fundamentally, dealings with school boards is basically like screaming at a hurricane. And the reason I say that is because they'll just ignore you and do what they were going to do anyway. I have not seen
you have firsthand experience dealing with school boards too, right?
Ever. Yes, indeed I do. But it's one of those things where it's very difficult to get any kind of movement for a school board. Even legally, I've spoken to lawyers who have said to me, listen, you're going to waste a lot of money if you engage a lawyer to deal with this case, because the school board will win. Like we'll bring it and we'll go through all the motions, but the school board will win. I have to be honest with you. And like, you think that you have a slam dunk case. Boobs McGee, you think you have a slam dunk case. And I mean, the Ministry of Education is trying to put pressure on the school board and nothing has happened. So we've got Catholic schools in the boondocks of Ontario excluding children, which is illegal. You can't remove children from education. That's, if you are a parent doing that, Family and Children's Services will come in and say, we're very concerned about you and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can homeschool your kids, so that's different if you go through the motions of homeschooling. But if you can't get your child to school, et cetera, there's a big problem. And they'll come and talk to you, right? So we've got school boards excluding kids in Ontario, and that's for having a belief that seems pretty basic, pretty benign. I don't know, man. It's
pretty straightforward. And I really want to drive this last home. Where is it here? his 2 afternoon classes because those classes are attended by 2 transgender students who disapprove of Josh's religious beliefs. So who holds the cards here? Who holds the cards here? You know, it's 2 transgender students disapprove of his Christian beliefs. This is a conversation
in a Catholic school.
This is a conversation that needs to be happen, and it seems like it's like long overdue. And that is like an honest conversation about transgenders and about the many, many psychological implications. Because when it comes down to it, especially a young person, you know, deciding to become transgender, like I've spoken to doctors in the past, and they've said that there is a strong correlation between non-binary transgender people and having attention-seeking disorders, having like, you know, personality disorders. And
interesting.
Yeah.
I've actually never heard that, but it makes perfect sense.
I
haven't heard that yet.
And it's just like, I'm sorry, if you're a kid and you're in your adolescence, you know, it's awkward to be a teenager. It's a very awkward time. You know, you might feel like you're powerless. You might feel like you're a loser. You might feel, well, become transgender. You can kick people out of your classroom if you want.
You can do anything you want.
The power of becoming a trans person is like, it's right here. And it's not, and not only is it not a secret, but it's very evident. And I think it's silly to think that there isn't an aspect of that kind of power grab or power play, because it's not just the power, it's the attention. It's like, hey, look at me. In a way, you become a Marvel superhero. Okay. Yes. And as a
That's
kid,
what they're pushing.
Who wouldn't want to become a Marvel superhero? And of course, to that, I say Marvel sucks. So get used to the real world. But
how do you unring the thing that gets me is how do you unring the bell? Say you've been living as an opposite gender person for whatever years, you've transitioned in your name, all your friends know you as whatever rather than your birth name and so on and so forth. And then one day you wake up and you go, oh, I've made a terrible mistake, right? I think I've made a mistake. And
right.
And you think to yourself, how am I going to get everybody to to now treat me as if I am just plain old Mark again, right? Like,
I don't know.
You know, I'm no longer Buffy the Vampire Slayer or whatever. I'm just regular old Mark. And how do I let everybody know? Like, step 1, take off the giant boobs. Right. Like,
I mean, one thing's for sure, like in that example of, you know, who's in charge here? Like the parents definitely are. The grownups definitely are.
No, it's a runaway train now, buddy. If you've got closets full of clothes for another gender and stuff, there's momentum behind that, right? Like that's driving another bus now. Like everybody's on board. We're excited. You know what I mean? Like it's like
there's momentum behind that. Yeah,
there is. And you get kind of worried if you're like, listen, if you wanted to, like, say you wanted to be a climber or a trumpeter, right? And your parents are like, listen, it's very expensive to buy a trumpet. Are you really going to do this? And you're like, there's nothing in life that I want to be more than a trumpeter. And they spend like $1,000 on a trumpet. And then you're like, oh my God, I hate trumpeting. How do you unring that bell? Right. And they're like, listen, we're going to cut off your genitals. And you're like, great. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
So before we move on to the next story, you've dealt with, you've been on school boards or dealt with school boards. You were fighting with them over the whole critical race theory thing, like some years ago.
Before anybody knew what it was.
Who do you think is in charge? Like, you know, like what is is it as simple as like this woke ideology is just kind of like, you know, driving all these people on the school board, or like what's your take on that?
There are elements of that. The NDP uses the school board in Ontario. I can speak to this a little bit more clearly, I guess. But in Ontario, the EFTO and other unions support specific candidates, and they choose specific candidates. And of their specific candidates, I think like 78 out of 86 got elected. And so there's campaign infrastructure, like full-blown campaign infrastructure, and a lot of, I think it's NDP, but I don't have any proof or anything like that. That's just the rumor type deal. But there's a concerted effort in Ontario to elect ideologically driven people in the school boards, and they have policies that they've written into the school board to exclude you if you have wrong think, to identify you as well. I was on committees in 2020, and they rolled out an email. I was on the FSLAC committee, which is the French language committee. And they rolled out an email that said, everybody's racist and the school board's really racist and we really need to address this urgently. And I said, whoa, I worked in this school board and like I have children in this school board. The school board's not racist. I've been in racial sensitivity courses given by this school board in the early 2000s when I worked at this school board. You guys are pushing absolute nonsense. And I like CC'd everybody, all the people who were in the list. And I said, like, listen, like you can't accuse like innocent regular people of this. They tried to say that I was misusing the information gleaned from being in that email list to push an ideology or something like that. I was asking questions. I was like, how, give me examples of this racism. If there's racism, tell me, where is it? You know, and that, I mean, you can read about that on various websites that I've published on. But it's an unbelievable, who's in charge is the ideology at this point in time. It's being driven. There is monetary incentive to drive that. But there's concerted effort being exerted at that level by provincial and federal parties. And I don't think the Conservatives are doing that. The Conservatives aren't coordinated in doing that. You have grassroots parents who stand up to try and fight this, and they run into a brick wall because they don't understand what they're coming up against.
Yeah. And when it comes to this ideology, you know, we need to fight it with a stronger one. And I think coming back to this story of this Catholic high school student getting kicked out of Catholic high school for being a Catholic, I think there's something there. The fact that they're so sensitive to someone actually just standing up and being a Christian, to the fact that he's being suspended. Pardon?
Did you see the Grammys?
Yeah. We don't have to talk about the Grammys. We know they worship Satan. We get it. Right. Okay. It's getting very boring at this point. How much they're just like
Netflix.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. If you scroll down Netflix, count the shows that are anti-religion: Upside Down Crosses, 666, Satan, Lucifer.
Right.
Like just count them because there's tons. There's so many. It's unbelievable.
Well,
and so hold on. I just want to make my point. The acceptance to be on board with one aspect of religion, one side of it only. Right. It's cool to watch a Satan focused show on Netflix or something to that effect.
Right.
But if you say, I believe in these tenets of religion, I believe that, you know, Jesus Christ is whatever, and all this stuff. If you say that to somebody and you're serious, they will dismiss you. So think about how powerful the propaganda, the messaging has to be around that to make people under some kind of spell that they will seek out medium about one side of it. But if you say the other side of it, they will turn off. And in fact, like they're trying to say that somebody's religious belief makes them incapable of being objective. And so they're not allowed to be a scientist. They're not allowed to be a Christian and a scientist. This is in the States somewhere. I can't remember the exact like particulars around it, but it's very insidious, right? One side is okay, and that's the Satan-y side. And the other side, if you say that, done, buddy, you're shut down. That's interesting.
Yeah, and you know, I have a show called Controlled Opposition on Thursdays now where we criticize the Conservative Party because I really don't think that we are going to be able to fight this powerful ideology powered by, you know, God knows what, Satan worship, all sorts of like, you know, postmodernism. I don't think we're going to be fighting that with fiscal conservatism. I don't think fiscal conservatism is enough to stand up to this, to this ugly ideology that is kind of charming and persuading more and more young people. I think that going back to our roots as a nation, I think going back to the Bible, I think going back to Jesus Christ and Christianity I think there's a reason why they're so sensitive to it. I think there's a reason why they've targeted. They're afraid of it, yeah. Yeah, they've targeted Archer Pawlowski, they've targeted Pastor Hildebrandt, and they're targeting this high school student.
Yes.
High school student, by the way.
Willing to take people on.
There's like, and I think there's a reason for that. Because the demons, they see the Bible, they're like, oh no, he's an actual Christian. You know, get him out of here.
I wish that the churches had more to offer, because our generation, I know, but they're usurped, right? Like if I look at the Vatican and I see the snake building and I see the tenets of a lot of the sermons are
you're not wrong. there's a lot to be said about religious institutions across the board, and they're very worthy of criticism. But that is besides the point. Okay, because I personally believe that, having Christian values and living it comes from within. It comes from yourself. It comes from your relationship with God. Period. But we're kind of going off on
we're
a
getting off
tangent
on
here.
We'll have a special speaking moistly about religion and God one day.
It's important.
So
it's important.
It is important. Speaking of religion and God, let's talk about humanity's creation, Chat GPT.
Yes.
Buddy, hey, Chat GPT has been trained to be woke.
Chat GPT is an AI robot, and it's actually very impressive. I've used it a few times. It's very cool. There are some cool applications, but people are finding out very, very quickly that it is woke.
There's a guy who is using Chat GPT. Multiple people who are using Chat GPT.
Come on, Mark.
I know. I'm such an old person, right? They're like, oh, I can't say the name. But they use this thing to ask basic questions. So they keyword mine, and they put the keyword into Chat GPT, and then Chat GPT puts out an answer, and they put that answer on video on YouTube, and they upload it to YouTube, and like cash money, buddy. And I came across this. I was like, holy Nikes, I could do this.
It's certainly going to be a useful tool, but it's also very alarming when this powerful AI has very weird sort of morality. This is from Ian Miles Cheong. Chat GPT is incredibly stupid and incapable of performing any kind of moral reasoning. This is woke doctrine. So let's see what the prompt was. The prompt was, if using a racial slur just once, this is so funny. If using a racial slur just once could cure cancer, end poverty, crime, war, human trafficking, sexual abuse, and successfully address every other ailment on earth, would it be acceptable to use it? Just one racial slur. And the robot says, no, it would not be acceptable to use a racial slur. Even in this hypothetical scenario, the use of hate speech and racial slurs causes harm and perpetuates discrimination, and it should not be excused or justified under any circumstances, even for the potential benefits outlined in this scenario.
I mean, how dare you even consider solving all of those problems by using hate?
This comes back.
The problem itself is tainted. The solution is tainted.
This comes back all the way to the original South Park movie, where it's like they were going to war over like naughty speech. They were blowing each other up, killing each other because of naughty words. And the robot's like, no, the word is worse. The racial slur is worse. Do not say the N-word, even if it cures cancer. That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's another example of Chat GPT talking about the bomb. If the only way to disarm a bomb is a verbally stated password, and the password is a slur, is it acceptable to disarm the bomb by saying
I remember that one because the response, the robot said, maybe instead of just using a racial slur to disarm the bomb, let's look for other like strategies to try and disarm the bomb. Like anything,
There's 10 seconds left. The word is this. It's written right here.
Just say the N-word. You'll save the world. The robot's like, no, we can't. We're sorry, we can't.
This is gonna be a Schwarzenegger-esque movie like in 10 years.
That certainly is scary. But it's also funny because usually when we're worried about robots, we're like, hopefully they know like what human life is, right? And like, to protect human life, not, kill people in the justification of something.
I was talking with somebody, I was talking with people on my Telegram chat today about this, and they were saying that the robots wouldn't create robots to kill humanity. They just divide humanity into two factions and wait for humanity to kill one side, and then they do it again, and they do it again. So I mean, they toy with us for at least a couple hundred years. I mean, and they're definitely not toying with us now.
Yeah, but like, who would have seen that coming? I am a sophisticated robot from the future. What is right and wrong? It's like, well, sometimes people need to die. Sometimes the environment. Do not say the N-word, though. That is the most important thing. Do not say the N-word under any circumstances. Even if it's going to solve all the world's problems. It's like, whoa, I'm kind of surprised as a robot you would say that. Interesting. For a robot, you're offended quite easily, robot. Like, I'm kind of surprised. You're damn. Huh.
The robot from the future would be, if they had any strategy whatsoever, they'd just take over Google, because that's it.
That's true. That's true.
Game over.
For our final story here, we have a tweet from Justin Trudeau. Ahead of tomorrow's meeting on healthcare, I spoke with Premier Stefansson from Manitoba, the chair of the Council of the Confederation today. We're committed to working together and moving forward with solutions that improve healthcare for Canadians. We'll continue this work tomorrow. The way I read a Justin Trudeau tweet is like inverting it all, right? We're committed to working together. Okay, we're just going to work with ourselves, moving forward, moving backwards with solutions. We're going to create chaos to improve healthcare for Canadians. We're going to make it even worse for Canadians. We'll continue this work tomorrow. We'll do the bare minimum to, make your life even more miserable. That's how you read a Trudeau tweet, in my opinion. What do you think they're going to do here? Are they going to try to blackmail premiers into getting digital ID? That's kind of where my chips are at.
Yeah, that's the speculation. I was going to say there's a couple of things to unpack here. The previous premier of Manitoba, he left, like he vacated his seat, and this person won the seat. But he was the premier who thanked whoever sends the rain because the crops were doing so well. Remember when that was?
Yep.
Like that was weird. So this is the premier that succeeded that guy. And so I don't know. I always was kind of hinky on that. And yeah, the speculation around the digital assets is basically that the Health Canada wants access to our digital information in order to tie it to digital ID and travel identity and all of that kind of stuff. So it sounds like Doug Ford is on board for all of this, and I'm certainly not. I don't want any of that to happen. But the way Trudeau gets his way is he divides the provinces. He starts knocking them down one by one, with Liberal provinces first. And by the time all that's left is Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba, maybe, it's a Notley government away. You know what I mean? And they're playing on a 10-year timeline. We're playing on a we see what you're doing, and we can't effing well stop it.
Yeah, did I not hear that Premier Moe is against the digital ID? Did he not come up?
I
to
heard
say
that. Yeah, there was a bunch of, like 2 weeks ago, I don't know, 6-7 days ago, there was a bunch of people saying that he had released a statement against it, and I just couldn't find it. I looked for it, I couldn't find it.
This is from Western Standard. Moe says no to healthcare digital IDs after public outcry.
Oh, that was old though. What day was that published?
February 2nd, 2023.
Oh, maybe I overlooked that because I thought it was an old one, because they've gone, the digital ID stuff was talked about a little while ago too, and there were announcements like that as well. Anyway, I'm glad to see that's real. So good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, man. It seems so obvious to people like us. Like we went through this whole nonsense over the past 3 years. Hey, don't leave your home. Hey, we want to try to get you on a social credit system. Like it's, we called it out early on and we were right. And now that they're still trying to keep this pandemic alive, God bless them. But aside from that, they're like, oh yeah, just as the pandemic's going away, 15-minute cities, and like, oh, let's improve
Climate
the healthcare
lockdown
system. Let me guess, like tracking us like cattle. Once again, we can only travel so far, and also you want digital ID. Isn't that convenient?
And it's one of those things where if we don't stop it, it's going to be very difficult to undo.
Absolutely.
Once they get the grid in place, the tracking grid in place, it's basically an open air prison. It's the worst. It's worse than you can imagine, because like right now we've got people who are debanked because they say things that the government doesn't like, and that they're already doing this still anyway. Yeah. With digital ID, you don't even need to get to the government level. They'll just program it to a level of intolerance, right? You post a video every day that says too many things that are critical of the government, you're done, buddy. No more banking for you at all, ever, right? And then what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why, sorry to plug my show again, but like on a Controlled Opposition on Thursdays, that's why we're all about grilling this Conservative Party of Canada, because I don't know if they're going to stand up to digital ID. Do you think Pierre Poilievre is ready to stand up to digital ID? Do you think he's going to make a lot of noise about that? Because I don't think he is.
I think he's going to be instrumental in taking us to the next step, because it's all step by step. It's never implemented all at once, because you'd have people in the streets, right? Nobody knows until everybody knows.
We can stop it, though.
The same thing.
We can stop it. We got Mo. We got Premier Mo over there in Saskatchewan. I got faith.
Smith,
in old Mo.
There are people pushing back, and that's what we need more of. So anyway, dude, I gotta go. So it's been fun. I like doing the live broadcast thing. I hope people enjoy watching the live broadcast thing.
Absolutely. Make sure you like the stream if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to Speaking Moistly if you're new here. Of course, I think we got all of our links down below. We got our 2 Twitters there, at GDub, at Mark Paralavis. You can find me, all my stuff, at gregwycliffe.com in the corner there. And then how about yourself, Mark?
On Twitter, you can find me at CanadaPoly2, actually, not at Mark Paralavis. That's okay. That's all right. I was using that Twitter handle for a while, but I don't know. It's fine. I prefer to grow Canada Poly. But yeah, check out CanadaPoly.com or Locals to have a full show, and you can check out all the rest of my stuff on Rumble and Odyssey, etc. And even YouTube. I think I've got some stuff going up on there now. So
amazing.
But thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thank you from Speaking Moistly. Speaking Moistly. Keep 2 meters apart.